Hey everyone, it's Chris Gorman again with Gorman Residential here for part two of our three-part series on interest rates, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, and the Federal Reserve. Today we're going to be talking about the 10-year Treasury note and what impact that has on your mortgage rates. So stay tuned. All right, first and foremost, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. That helps me get more views and more credibility within YouTube, which is super important. If you like the content I'm putting out, then please do that for me as a favor. Now, what is the 10-year Treasury note? The 10-year Treasury note is an investment vehicle that you could make today. You could go on, actually, I think you can do it online now. You can go and buy a 10-year Treasury note. Just like you would be buying a stock, you can make that purchase and you now own it until the date of maturity. A little bit different from a stock that you can freely sell at any point in time. A 10-year Treasury note has a 10-year maturity date, meaning that's when you get your money back. And at the time that you buy it, there will be a yield tied to that investment. The yield is the interest rate. That's how much money you're going to make on that investment. It's going to pay you that amount every year until the date of maturity, at which point you get your principal back, your principal being your initial investment. So let's say you buy a $1,000 bond or $1,000 note, and it's got a 10-year maturity date. Then in 10 years, you'll get that $1,000 back. But you'll also get the yield, which is every year they'll pay you, let's say it's a 5% yield, they'll pay you 5% of that $1,000 or $50 every year for 10 years. That's how you make money. That's why you would invest. And what the government's doing is essentially they're borrowing money from you and they're guaranteeing to pay you that interest rate. Generally recognized probably the safest investment you can make because the United States has never defaulted on their treasuries. If they ever got into a situation where they were going to, they could just print more money and they'd be out scot clean. So it's one advantage that the government has that businesses don't. But that's basically what it is. So what impacts that interest rate? Why does the interest rate fluctuate? Well, it's really based on supply and demand. If you have a lot of people putting their money into the 10-year Treasury, then the government doesn't need to incentivize you to do so because a lot of people are doing it. Therefore, the yield drops. Now, why would people be doing that? Well, if the 10-year Treasury is a safe investment and it starts appealing to a lot of people, then what that basically means is that we're probably not seeing a good outlook in the economy. People are scared, people are nervous, they don't want to take the risk by putting their money elsewhere. Therefore, they're going to store it in a safe place and earn a reasonable rate of return that they can count on. And that's your 10-year Treasury. More people that do that, the yield drops. If there's not a lot of people doing that, the government has to incentivize people to buy, and the interest rate rises to attract more investors. If you can earn 10% in the stock market and only 3% in the 10-year Treasury, then it's pretty tough to make an argument that the Treasury is a good place to put all your money. Obviously, you want a diversified portfolio. I'm not going to get into all that. We're talking pretty black and white right now. But that's the gist of why it goes up and down. And it's mainly driven by investor sentiment in the economy. How confident are investors that we're going into good times versus going into bad times? More people, or the more treasuries that are bought, would indicate that most people feel that we're going into bad times because it's a safe fixed rate investment and you're not going to get rich on it, but it'll pay you a reasonable rate of return over time. Now, in the next video we're going to talk about how mortgage rates and 10-year treasuries are related. So stay tuned for that. But just understand for today's purposes that when the Federal Reserve changes their interest rate, it changes the rate that banks borrow from each other. And that changes, that has a daisy chain domino effect on all the other investments and all the other lending that takes place within the country, which has an effect on all the different investing opportunities that there are, right? And so that is how the 10-year Treasury is related. It's not directly related, but because it's supply and demand driven and driven by macroeconomic factors, it is tied, and so the government can raise or lower depending on their needs. I think that's about it. That covers it. So if you have questions about if anything wasn't clear, please reach out. And sometimes it's clear in my head, and then when I explain it, it's not. So please reach out, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you've got. 919-670-3005, chris@gormanresidential.com. And if you or someone you know is looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate this year, please send them my way. I would love to take care of them. Thanks so much.